Hello there everyone, my name is DudeGamer64. Have you ever booted up Party Project Workshop for the first time and thought to yourself, how the heck am I supposed to use this tool? And you prefer a video tutorial over a written tutorial? Don't worry, I'm here to save the day. In this video, I'll be going over the beginners and basics on how to create your first custom board, and then after that, I'll be going into the more advanced stuff you can do with Party Project Workshop, so we can make your board a little bit more fleshed out and unique. We've got quite a few things to go over, so let's not waste any more time and get right into the tutorial. When you first boot up Party Project Workshop, this is what it's going to look like. To begin, we'll want to click on Load Party Project Version, click OK, and then click on the directory that contains your package.nw. For example, this one right here. The first time you do it, it may take a little bit to unpack everything into a simple folder, but after the first time, it'll be very quick. To create a new board, we'll want to go to Board Editor, then click on File, and then click on New Board. This will create a new file named unnamed.ppb. Click on it, and this is going to be your workshop. This is where you are going to make your first board. When you first click on your new file, you'll see a large bar over here. This is where you will input the board's title, description, author, background, and music. More on that later, but first let's go ahead and give our board a new title. I'll be calling this board Testland for tutorial purposes, giving it the description, this is a test board, and putting myself as the author. If it's a collaborative project, you can put multiple people in there at once. After you've inputted your board's title, description, and author, now would be a good time to save. Simply right-click, click Save As, and then save it to wherever you want. I have a specific folder just for this, so I'll be putting it in here. And I will be naming this file Testland. It's usually a good idea to make the file name whatever your board's title is. Now it's time to actually give our board a background. We can add in a new image file by right-clicking on our file, hovering over Add, and then clicking on Texture. Party Project Workshop supports both PNG and JPEG, so use whatever works best for you. You can see what image files you uploaded for your board by clicking on the arrow next to your file, and then clicking on the arrow next to Textures. And as you can see, we have our image fully implemented. As of version 2.1.1, there are now 2 extra ways where you can import textures. You can either click on the folder and click the big Add Texture button, or simply right-click on the folder and then click Add Texture from there. Either way you do it, it should work completely fine. Now that we've implemented our texture, it's now time to set it as the board's background. Simply click on our file again, then we go down to Daytime Background, click the drop-down menu, and click on our newly implemented texture. And look at that, it looks fine, but it also looks a little stretched. Not to worry, we can mess with these sliders over here to adjust the width and height of our board. There we go, that looks a bit better, doesn't it? Now that we have our background fully implemented, it's time for the most important part, placing the spaces. You can start placing spaces by clicking on this little pencil icon up here called the placer. Simply click on that, then we'll want to click on the space that we want to place down. 9 times out of 10, it's a good idea to make sure the first space you put down is the start space, because if you don't do that, chances are your characters are going to spawn in some random space around the map. Now that we've placed our start space, it's now time to place the rest of the spaces around the board. But let's say, for example, oops, I didn't mean to put a space there. Not to worry. Simply go up to the eraser tool and click on the space you want to delete, and poof, it's gone, just like that. Now, on to place the rest of the spaces around the board. I'll get back to you when I'm done placing them. Alrighty, I'm back and I have all of my spaces placed down. But let's say, for example, oh no, my space is misaligned, or it's too close/far away from other spaces. Don't worry. You can use the handy-dandy mover tool, simply click on it, and drag it around. No need to erase it and replace it constantly until you get it right where you want it. Anyway, now that we have our spaces set up, The game doesn't exactly automatically tell the players where to go. That's where our handy dandy linker tool comes in. Simply click on one space, drag it to the one you want it to go to, and boom, it's linked just like that. If you want to, you can also use the continuous linker tool, where you simply click on one space and drag it all around the board, making linking spaces an absolutely easy, carefree process. Just make sure you don't accidentally skip any spaces while you're linking them, otherwise it could lead to some really weird paths in the future. Alrighty, I think it's about time to test our board. All you want to do is right click on the board you want to test and click Quick Test. This will pull up a quick menu. Here you can select what turn it starts on, how many turns it goes for, start at nighttime if it has a nighttime gimmick, which we'll get to in a minute, as well as set who plays what character and what characters has how many coins, stars, what space they start on, and even their items. It should also be noted that the custom shroom has been modified for testing boards, as now the custom shroom can select up to 10 spaces away instead of 5, useful for testing out a space you want to land on specifically. As a special debug option, there's also a skip minigames option, simply to, speed up the testing process. It will automatically dish out coins randomly. After that, just click Start, give it a second to boot up, and boom, just like that, we are now in the game. Now that we have our board booted up, all we need to do now is to playtest it. I'm going to showcase our custom die here, which is a reskin custom shroom in this mod pack. We're going to roll a 10, we're going to go right, we land on a blue space. Then we're going to let the CPUs take their turn real quick. Alright, judge space happened. Alright. Let's see here. What do we need to get to the star? We need a 9. I'm going to use our custom die again. Going to roll a 9. We can go to the star, purchase it. We get +1 star, and look at that. It automatically relocates itself to another star space placed on the board. Alright, that's about all the testing we need for this. So I'm now going to close it. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to quick testing. Next up, we are going to import our music for the board. To do that, simply right click, add sound, and then you'll want to import an OGG file specifically, and boom, just like that, our sound has been imported. This is music that I use for a different board I've made called Pianta Village. Here you can preview what the music will sound like, as well as where the loop will start, so that way if your music file ends, you can tell it to loop back to a certain part of the song. You can leave it with just one song, but I'm also going to add in an extra Final 5 OGG, which I normally have pinch as a suffix. Now that we've imported our music, we simply need to go down to the BGM section of our board properties, click the drop-down menu, click our main music, and then on the last 5 turns do the exact same thing, but select our pinch music. Now that we've done that, let's make sure we save, and quick test the board to make sure that the music works perfectly fine. And look at that, the board music works perfectly fine. Now that we know that our board music works, we can simply close this and move on to our last section of the tutorial. For our last stop on the beginner's tutorial, we'll want to include our preview and thumbnail for the board. First off, we're going to add our preview, adding in a texture right here. With that implemented, we can now drag it in. There we go, and our thumbnail has been set. It's just that simple. However, it should be noted that it has to be a 128 by 64 pixel JPEG file. This goes for the board and the board select preview. They both have to be JPEGs. It will not work as PNGs. Setting up our board for preview is actually extremely simple and can all be done inside Party Project Workshop. All you have to do is go over here to this in-game preview button, toggle it, and this shows what your board is going to look like when you boot it up in the game. Simply all you have to do is click set preview, and you will notice that down here in our board select preview section of textures, a texture has already been created and implemented. If you want to, you can also choose to take a snapshot, so that way you can put it in an image editor of your choice and fix it up with whatever you want and then put it into the game. But if you just want a simple preview, just click set preview and you're good to go. Now that we have everything set on the board, it is now time to finally export it into Party Project. What we want to do is go to return to main menu, then go down to add board, click on the file that we just saved, and then boom, just like that, your board name will appear here. As of version 2.1.1, you can now toggle which boards get added and stay out of the game if you want. You can also drag and drop where each file is, so that way if you want a specific file to show up first and want another one later, you can drag them around. But since we have one board here, I'm not going to demonstrate that right now. You can fiddle around with it for yourself. And after that, before you build, you could also enable high resolution scaling. It is a very nice add-on, and I highly recommend you turn it on. And then once you've got everything good to go, just click build. And boom, just like that, Party Project is ready to play. You should be able to boot up your version of Party Project and you will see your custom board in the game. That concludes our beginner section of the tutorial. Next up, we're going to be talking about some advanced things, such as events, locked doors, and other unique things to make your board feel fresh. First off, let's try creating a bank. First, I'm going to click on the space I want to turn into a bank. Then I'm going to go down and select the bank space, which turns that into a bank. Now I'm going to go to the Objects tab. We'll get more into these later, but first I'm going to select the bank sprite. Select my placer tool, select it again. And boom, there we go. There is our bank sprite. Usually a good idea to put these next to the bank space, but you can put it wherever you want. You can also choose to only show the counter instead of the whole building, but for tutorial purposes I'm going to show the building. And that's pretty much how you set up a bank space. It'll keep track of all the coins in the bank, and if you land on the space, it will give you all the coins in the bank. Pretty simple. Next up, let's create a locked door. A locked door is a space that can only be accessed using a skeleton key item. To create a locked door path, simply place the locked door along the path, and that's pretty much it. As long as there is one locked door in your board, the skeleton key will appear from item spaces and in item shops. If you place a key door right here next to a junction, if the player does not have a skeleton key, they'll simply keep moving on down the regular path, but if they do have a skeleton key, they'll stop and have the option to go either direction. However, if you put a skeleton key door, like right here for example, all players will have the option to go down either path. But if they get to a locked door and they realize that they cannot go in, they will simply bounce off it and go back the other way and go down the other path. Pretty simple to understand. The next thing I'd like to showcase is how to set up a Whomp. They may seem a little confusing at first, but once you understand how to put them together, they're actually really cool. First, we'll want to have an empty space. I will select this space to become an empty space for demonstration. Now we want to go to the Objects tab, go to our placer, select our Whomp, and then place it down. I'd recommend moving it over the invisible space that we've made, but you can put it wherever, as long as it's linked to the empty space. See, every space has their specific ID. For example, this empty space has the ID number 5. So let's go back to our Whomp, and in the occupied space property, we'll need to type in 5. After that, there's one more thing we need to do. Have our Whomp move sprite and put it right next to the empty space, so that way the Whomp will move out of the way when a player successfully passes by. But that's not the only thing Whomps can do. They can also block multiple paths. For example, turning this space into an invisible space, we'll have this invisible space go into our target space. And we'll also be placing down another move sprite over here. So that way it moves to the closest move sprite whenever it needs to move. So how I've set this up is that way when a player goes down the path that the Whomp isn't currently on, the Whomp will then move over to that path to block it. So that way people will have to pay the Whomp money to get through to the other side. And when somebody goes up the other path, the Whomp will then once again move back over. It may seem a little confusing to set up, but once you get the hang of it, it's actually really cool. Next off, I'd like to showcase the day-night cycle. All you need to do is click on your board and then go over to the gimmick section and click on the day-night cycle toggle, and this will enable some extra options for your board. You are required to put in a nighttime background for this, but you can optionally also include some nighttime specific music. For this tutorial, I'm not going to be doing that, but you can if you want. However, to add another night cycle board, we will need to pull up another JPEG, which I thankfully already have on hand, and set that as the background. To see your background nighttime, all you need to do is click on the swap day-night button right here, and boom, it will swap between day and night on a whim. Pretty neat. It also comes with a slew of new options, specifically for events, but there are a few spaces that use this as well. For example, the day-night junction. If it is currently day, it will go to the first space ID listed in the junction, and if it is night, they will go to the second space ID. There's also the daytime specific ghost. It behaves like the regular ghost pass by, except it only works at a specific time of the board. Normally it's only available at night, but if you go into its space properties, hang on. If you click on the space and go to event and type in inverted, it will then be available during the day and unavailable during the night. The last thing I want to go over is how to set up events. There are two different types of events you can do: happening space events or white dot events, aka passing events. To select an event, select the happening space or pass by space, and then come up here and click the triple dots, and boom, here you will have a list of events that you can use. They come accompanied with a picture, what they're called, the description, and if they need to, they also have some event requirements, meaning that you have to set it up like this, otherwise it will not work. Please keep in mind that happening space events can only be set up on the happening event space, and the pass-by events can only happen on the white pass-by dot. Other than that, you should be good to go. Just make sure you set it up properly, and that's about it. Well, that just about wraps up the tutorial. That was a lot of information to take in. I don't really blame you. Party Project Workshop has a lot of cool tools at your disposal, so be sure to use them to the best of your ability. What's that? You still have questions? Well, that's okay. It's totally fine to ask questions. If you still have questions, there are three things you can do. You can either A, check the Party Project Workshop Google Word document, which can be found on the itch.io page for Party Project Workshop. B, leave a comment on this video, and I will try to respond to it as fast as I can to the best of my ability. Or C, check out the modding help channel in the official Party Project Discord server. That about wraps up this video. Thank you so much for watching, and have fun creating your own custom boards in Party Project Workshop.